Good morning. The Committee on Transportation calls this roundtable discussion to order, and we're here this morning to discuss Bill number 191-33, which was introduced by Senator Brant McCready, and Bill 191-33 pertains to the notice requirements for towing operations and provides new penalties and where these penalties are to be deposited. Now, we did have a public hearing on this bill, I believe it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and unfortunately at that public hearing none of the tow truck operators were present. For what reason, I don't know. But I thought it was important that we have the tow truck operators, because you are the other stakeholder in this whole thing, to provide their input. The credit agencies were here to provide their input insofar as why these changes are important to them. I also want to recognize the presence of the police chief, Chief Cruz. Thank you for joining us. If you want to go ahead and make some opening remarks.
It's okay.
Okay. So I think probably the best way to move forward on this, and anybody from the credit agencies are certainly welcome to join us up here. You're welcome to join us up here. Otherwise, probably what's important is we really should go page by page and take a look at what is being proposed to be amended in the law. Let's see, Mrs. Kalani.
Hi.
Right?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Okay. So the first amendment that's being made, and I think is a significant one, is on page 1, line 5, wherein there's certain notice requirements that a tow operator must comply with whenever you tow away a vehicle. But the way the law is originally written is that these requirements, these notice requirements, are only applicable when the tow truck operator hooks up to a vehicle and the owner of the vehicle is not there. So, for example, the car was parked in a no parking zone, let's say up at the post office in Tamuni. The driver is nowhere to be. We know that the driver went in across the street to ITC, right? So you hook up and you tow that thing away. The existing law requires that within an hour of arriving at the place of storage, you've got to contact the law enforcement agency having jurisdiction over the area from which the vehicle was towed, and notify the agency of where the vehicle is, when, what time you picked it up, why it was removed, persons, vehicle's description, including its identification number, and all that. And then so there's all these requirements that's listed out. There's about 3 or 4 different notice requirements that needs to be complied with. But the way the existing law is, it only applies to the towing of vehicles without the vehicle owner's knowledge. But by making that amendment on line 5, what it would do then is that anything you hook up to, you're going to have to do these requirements. So I need your input. Is that no big deal? I mean, it's probably going to be a big deal to the police department, because now he's going to be, inundated with all this information.
In a way, Senator, it is kind of a big deal for us, because 90% of the cars that we...
Wait. Okay. Hold on. Okay, go ahead. Now, what we're doing is we're recording this thing. It's
okay,
also being
in a way, it's a big deal for us, because 90% of the vehicles that we tow out of private property are whether it's all locked up, and normally the landowners are the one who request for the vehicle to be towed away. That's number one. Number two, the reason why it's really hard for us to notify whoever the individual owners of this vehicle, because revenue and tax does not comply with us. When we call them up to get information in reference to a registered said vehicle, they'll tell us, we can't give you that information because it's a private information. But we are a towing company. You need to give us information. How can we inform the registered owners of this vehicle if you cannot comply with us? And I believe these towing companies will vouch for that. So we in order for us to inform the registered owners of this vehicle or whoever the lien holder is or whatever, we need the help of revenue and tax to give us information.
Okay, that's very significant.
Another issue.
Okay, identify yourself, please.
My name is Mike Mateo from JR's Towing.
Sorry.
Another issue concerning this is time. Sorry.
Can you repeat that again?
Mike Mateo from JR's Towing. Another issue that concerns us would be time. The amount of time it takes to fill out an inventory sheet, the amount of time it takes to go to DMV, line up, and get processed to get the information is one thing. And as an organization, we're spending money on wages to kind of comply with the law. And in that sense, we're technically losing money at that point. If we have to wait an hour at DMV for information when we can easily call over the phone. But when we call over the phone, they're very hesitant to give it to us because they don't really trust who we are. Which requires us to actually go inside, line up in a long line, especially during the end of the month when everyone's trying to get their registrations in. It really takes a lot of time out of the company's hands to kind of go through all the hassle and get the information. Then we still have to go back and then send out the letters when we do, if we do get the information. So time would be a major issue concerning us when it comes to inventory and getting information for impounded vehicles.
Okay. Back to Tony, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sorry.
Gosh, I lost my train of thought. Oh, the statistic you gave that 90% of the vehicles about 90% of the vehicles
Yeah.
that you tow, the owner of the vehicle is not there, or the owner of the vehicle is standing there watching you tow it away?
Well, depends. If it's in a private property, 90% of the time the owners are not there, and it's the landowners or the property owners are the one that are requesting for us to remove whatever said vehicle that needs to be removed.
Okay, so in that situation, you have to provide this report, right?
Yes. I mean, we do keep information and records on our own,
Right.
on our own computers or whatever. But in order for us to remove any said vehicles on any private property, we need a written permission or a written authorization from the owners requesting or authorizing us to remove the said vehicle. But see, we have these vehicles that will sit in our yard for like 20, 30 days, which is we cannot get information or any kind of contact on who are the registered owners, because, you know, we would like to get our money or we would like to salvage the vehicle, which is, it's really hard for us to get any kind of information from revenue and tax.
So if the vehicle is locked, you don't jimmy it open to look to get the registration?
Not us. I don't, unless I really, really have to get into the vehicle, then we'll open it up. That's within maybe 30 days later down the line, I'll open it up to get information out of the vehicle and stuff.
Yes, please.
So, Tony, after the 30 days, is there a time limit ticking that adds an extra cost to the car?
There's no extra cost, actually. If your vehicle sits in my yard for a year, that $10, $15 a day still applies to it.
Is there a cap is there a timeline that you would say that say $500 is a maximum that a car, the existence of the car being in your lot would expire, and you either find the owner? Like he said, do you get in and find the registered owner, or do you just allow it to sit on your lot for
Well-
10 years?
Well, what Senator, it depends on what kind of vehicle is it. If it's a junky, clunky car that we know that the owner's not going to come by and pick it up, we still submit a 3 certified letter to the registered owner informing them that your said vehicle is in our yard. So you have so many days, and this is the towing and the storage fee that you have to pick it up. If you don't pick it up, then we dispose of it.
So
We try to sell parts out of it to gain back our loss.
And your storage fee is $10 a day.
$10 or $15. It's $10 on the outside, so if we decide to put them inside the warehouse or something like that, it's
Does it vary?
$15.
Does every tow company have the same price?
Yes, we're pretty much the
10 to
same.
15?
Yeah, 10, 15.
Okay.
So, Mr. Mateo, you raise a point about the time that it takes to go to Reventex to get the information. I mean, you have to stand there in line and all that stuff. So, are you suggesting that the 72 hours that is in the law is not sufficient for you to be able to gather all that information and at least dedicate one person to stand up, at DRT?
So the concern is time. 72 hours can be enough. We can also ask for more. But the question now is who's gonna lose out, us or the customer, the consumer? If the date goes on too long, then the customer is losing. But if it goes on too short, we as the company are losing. Another issue too is opportunity costs. Now, if there's a car in my lot that doesn't move, I can't bring another car in because I'm at maximum capacity. Now, my concern is how do we turn over the car, get more cars coming in and getting more cars out without really damaging the finances of the company? And like Mr. Otto was saying about the 3 certified mails, sometimes no one really responds to it. Seldom do they do. We've had numerous replies from banks and liens, and they always say, we're not responsible for the vehicle. It's the registered owner's responsibility. But when the registered owners, say, off island in jail, not on Guam or whatever the case may be, we're losing out on more revenue coming in from all the other impounds that we can do, but we're forced not to because our lot is filled. If we can, I want to say 72 hours can be enough. If we can get it another 48 hours on top of that would be nice. But for the most part, we're not trying to make it a win-lose situation for anyone. We want to make it a win-win. And with that being said, I would like more than 72 hours to get information.
Go ahead.
Let's just go back just a bit. Can you give me the standard operating procedure of what happens when you tow a car? So you get a call to tow a car, and is it first come, first serve for the tow company?
It depends on the type of tow. So if we got accidents, then normally by law it's supposed to be whoever the registered owner is supposed to dispatch the towing company.
Okay, so the registered owner dispatches your towing company.
We
What do you show up, you tow the car?
We tow the car
Okay.
based on what the owner's requests are, whether they want to bring it to the owner's residence, to take it to a body shop, and
Wherever the owner wants, you take it.
we take it there.
And is every tow company on the same page when it comes to that? Well,
Yes.
everyone's standard operating procedure. And then so, when the car gets towed to your lot, and it ends up sitting for 30, 60, 90 days,
A year even.
a year,
Yeah.
what do you do? When you know the registered owner and you know, because the person was there when you towed it.
It just sits, collects. It just
Collects
collects storage
storage
fee.
fee.
And another concern there too is revenue. When we collect more and more on revenue for storage revenue, we have to pay more taxes. But we haven't gotten payment for whatever revenue.
So you
we've
pay
actually
taxes
earned.
on something that you haven't collected?
Yeah. Oh, that's just basically how revenue works. Revenue is when you earn it, not when you received it.
You don't pay a tax on something that you didn't collect, though.
Yes, we do. We've paid GRT on storage revenue
That you haven't collected.
that we haven't collected. So which is a concern because there's another cost.
Can I ask a question? You
Go ahead and
mentioned-
identify yourself, please.
Philip Gerlingham, representing the Guam Dealers Association. You said when the time is shorter, you lose money, and I'm not sure what I understood that correctly. If you're paid for the tow and whatever time of storage that the vehicle was in your lot, you're paid, right? So I wasn't sure I understood your line of thinking, because obviously if the car stays longer, then your lot is blocked. You can't have fresh inventory or whatever.
So that's where opportunity cost comes in. Now, if the car stays longer, we lose out on more revenue coming in. Now, if the car gets out in a short amount of days, so say the tow, we towed a vehicle, it stays in our yard for 1 day. By law, we were supposed to send out, according to the unamended law, we have 2 days to send out a certified mail. So within that short span, we as a company have to send out a runner to go get the information, to go get the letters out, and to go to the post office to actually send the certified mail. Certified mail is $6.59, if I'm not mistaken, per mail. And we have to send it to the registered owner, the lien holder, the insurance company, and DMV. And maybe one car might not sound like a lot, but over time it starts to add up. And the more we send out, the more we lose without receiving money in the end.
Okay, then, Senators, would it not make sense that if the tow companies can identify the legal owner, and I'm talking about commercial viewpoint, as a dealer, my company vehicle is impounded or towed and whatever, if they can identify the legal owner and we can settle, get the car out, why is there still a requirement of registered mail going out and so forth? So I'm just bringing it up in our discussion.
I think a good segue, because I just asked the question of their standard operating procedures of when the car gets towed. So I think a good segue to this is now, from your perspective, what is the operating procedure that, on the back end, that you receive when a lien holder or a car dealership has their car towed or totaled or towed to a lot? What is the experience there?
Phil Flores, Bank Pacific. Typically what will happen is it's servicing, if a loan, if payments, we don't get involved until we find out. If, as the law is right now, if the vehicle is towed without the owner's knowledge, we need to be notified. And we'll work then to get it out of there as quickly as possible. If we're not notified, and then the car if it becomes delinquent, that's the first we find out about it, that it's not in the owner's possession, it's at one of the towing companies. I have a bill here that's just from a couple of months ago that one of the towing companies was saying we had to pay them over $9,000 to get it out of the towing, out of their lot. I'm sympathetic to capacity, but if you give me a call or you send me a letter, we're going to go to get that vehicle out of your thank you. We're going to go to get that vehicle out of your yard as quickly as possible. I don't understand the thing about paying GRT on money that's not received. Unless you're a certain size company, you don't have to do that, work on accrual. We have several companies, most of them pay GRT only on cash, but if that's what they're doing, I would just suggest not paying your taxes that way. But I also ask that when we have a car that which we have a lien and it's towed into somebody's yard, that we're told about it. Now, 72 hours you think is too short. I mean, we don't mind adding a day or 2 days to it, but we don't want the case to happen, which has happened several times, where it's well over 100 days and there's an attempt to collect storage for every day that it's there. And the towing company knows that the bank has a lien on it, because that will show on your registration. It'll show owned by John Cruz, lien holder Bank Pacific, or owner Nissan Rent-A-Car. It's very easy to find. You don't have to go to Rev and Tax to find out who owns license number MD345.
Where do you go?
We just go to your registration that's in the car.
But that's just it. If the car is locked, they don't break into, they don't jimmy it open.
No, this is
according to Mr. Lujan.
Yes.
The clarification is
Well-
90% of your cars are locked, but that was called by the owner of the land,
Yes,
correct?
okay.
Well, okay, then if the car is locked and the owner doesn't know it's been towed, then already by law, we are supposed to be notified. And that's not happening.
Well, see, number one, it's not our obligation to notify you that your car is.
Yes, it is. The law says that if
in a
it-
private property, in a private.
The law says that if you tow, if I may,
Yeah.
the law in its current form says that if you tow a car right now without the knowledge of the vehicle's owner, you have to tell us. You have to tell the lien holder, you have to tell the insurer, and you got to get to the, I mean, you can't complain about a capacity issue if you don't let the guy know his car is there. And at a certain point, like when we get a $9,000 bill for repairs, I mean, I know somebody's gone into that car and checked out who owns it, and I know that there's an attempt just to get money, and who's got the money? Why did they rob the banks? Because that's where the money is.
Well, okay, there's two ways actually when you tow a vehicle. One is an impounded in a private property. Okay, that's the one that we're having problem trying to get to the to the registered owner. The other one is an accident. Accident is real easy to identify who owns the vehicle because 90% of the time or 100% of the time, insurance company will be at your door, knocking at your door, looking for that whatever vehicle that's involved in an accident. What we're discussing here is like two separate things. One is abandoned, one is towing. The abandoned vehicle, if you abandoned it in a parking lot, like exact example out here, and somebody, the security comes and says, tow this vehicle away, it's not my obligation to inform the registered owner yet that we towed your vehicle. Whoever owns that vehicle and comes back and looking for his vehicle, that's the obligation of the security who authorized us to remove it. Maybe a week down the line when I have a free time, or I can notify you that I have your vehicle. But if you don't come looking for your vehicle back at the same place where you parked it, then there's something wrong here.
Can I, Tony Kidwa, a private citizen, why don't we do it this way? Why can't we dedicate a specific person at motor vehicle to handle the tow truck company's request instead of having them wait? I can understand why the revenue tax won't tell you over the phone because any Joe Blow could do that. I'm representing this and this towing company. Can we do, can I get this information? I think what needs to be done in order to help this thing is why don't we dedicate one specific person or, a couple of specific people over at DMV that will respond to the requests of the tow companies so that you don't have to waste your time staying in line waiting for, to see it. Because, I know what it's like to go up to Revenue Tax and see this long line and, you get disgusted. Why can't, a supervisor or somebody, everybody knows who the various towing companies are. Why can't we just sit there and say, you dedicate one person from your company or, a representative from your company that says, okay, you're going to meet with Steve Uggan over at Revenue Tax, and you're going to present these items to him, and he's going to go ahead, give Revenue Tax an obligation to respond within minimum 48 hours to get these people so that they can get the information to send it over to the private citizen. Like Mr. Flores was saying, it's true. It gets real frustrating. I work as a claims adjuster, and one of the biggest problems that you'll find is that GPD takes, 5 days, 10 days to get your police report out, okay? If I get hit, the accident's not my fault, I really don't want to go to my insurance company and say, my car got into an accident. But my policy requires that I got to go in as soon as practicable to report my accident. But they're going to tell you, I don't really want to file them against my policy, and I want to know who this other guy is. I want to verify that he's got insurance. So why can't we do it and have the tow companies assign a representative from their company that meets specifically with one person or somebody at Revenue Tax to provide them this information so that they don't have to send out that certified letter, because then Revenue Tax can sit there and log it into their logbooks that says, Ben Lujan came over and they asked about this particular vehicle. I'm pretty sure they could put it into their computers that, okay, we got a flag on this, Ben Lujan wants their money. I'm pretty sure that Revenue Tax has information that they can put on their computers to flag it. That way, we don't have to worry about you guys having income being lost because you can't find these people. Insurance companies can get their claims settled ASAP, and if we know that a car is at your lot, we can call you up and verify it because you would have better access. Yeah, Tone, yeah, we found out that the guy, this is your car, and we need to get this car out. At least this way, the insurance companies have an opportunity to tell you, okay, he's only got liability. I'm sorry, there's not much I can help you on. But, you do have his car. The law requires that we give you some information. Let's give you that information to get this car out. They want to move their car because one of the biggest problems that you'll find with cars that are sitting at the lots is that sometimes parts come up missing. I have one claim where the guy had his car at one of the lots, and because he was having problems securing the documentation to show that this was his car, by the time he came in with his documents, his car was stripped. He didn't have any fenders, he didn't have any doors, he didn't have any windshield. Things were missing out of the car. And then he sits there and says, no, nobody ever told me that they were going to take parts out of my car. So I understand the impasse that they have. I understand the impasse that I have when I settle claims. So why can't we get the government to work with us and say, okay, this is a dedicated person, so in that way you don't waste time waiting in line, and at least this way you guys have a specific representative that once you guys get to know each other, you can actually call them on the phone and say, hey, Steve, this is John. I need this help.
Okay. Actually, the only problem that we're having at revenue taxes, I don't want no one person to be designated for a towing company because they got thousands of work up there. The only thing I'm asking is when we come up with our business license, our identification, all we need is information. It's for them to comply with us and give us the information that we're requesting. So that way we can know who's the lien holder, who's the registered owner, so we can notify these people that their said vehicle is in our yard.
And so basically, what you're saying is you would need more time than the 72 hours to complete that.
We need at least a week, 5 working days.
And the opposite side is saying that's not a problem. 4 or 5 days.
Oh, wait, I don't think that's a problem for us. And really, there's a couple of different issues here. There's the one that you're talking about. You just want to find out the owner, the lien holder, the insurer, so you can reach out to them.
Right.
But the other issue, which is so much more egregious, is the one to which Tony just referred, and that's where parts go missing. That's where all of a sudden there's a $9,000 bill to repair the car that an insurance adjuster has not looked at. They just went ahead and did it. So in some cases, there's just people really being taken advantage of, and the idea is that, because somebody in the end will pay it out of the insurance company or the bank. So if it's the ones you're talking about that are just you want to find out who the person is, I have no. At least for our bank, we don't have an issue going an extra day or 2 days.
Yeah.
Chief, do you do have access to vehicles, right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do in the Guam Police Department. We are able to access DMV's records to check on registered owners.
So would that be overly burdensome if when they submit a report, that at that time they get, because what they have to report basically is that at this location, on this date, this time, I removed a vehicle for unauthorized parking. It was requested by the security guard, and the vehicle's description is such and such. Now, with that information provided to GPD, GPD should be able to get into the database to then find out who that vehicle is currently registered to, and you should be able to see on there also then the lien holder, correct?
I would say up front, Senator, again, the issue that we're running into would be the same as if somebody called up DMV.
Right.
Unless there's a mechanism in place for us to validate who's actually trying to access this information, I would tell you that I would not be, the Guam Police Department would assume a certain amount of liability in releasing that information that technically belongs to the Department of Revenue and Taxation. And in this case, I can't speak on behalf of Mr. John Camacho.
Understand. But nonetheless, I mean, I can understand the part about calling in and saying, "Hey, I'm Tony," and asking for that information. But if they were actually go up to GPD, where at GPD would they go to? Up at ITC?
At this point, if they wanted to get information of that, again, it would be, to get a police report, it would be up at the ITC at our records and ID section. Again, it's a matter of validating that information. We need to make sure that the person is valid, and then what reason are they using the Guam Police Department as a mechanism to get that? The Guam Police Department has access to the Department of Motor Vehicle records for the purpose of police investigations and conducting investigations of that matter for no other reasons besides that. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have access to that because that's all Department of Revenue Taxation's information. So again, we have access to that for the purpose of to meet our intent of conducting investigations, whether they're criminal investigations or traffic investigations, crash investigations. That's the reason why we're privy to that. For us to be able to release that to the public because they're trying to settle a matter of identification will be outside of the purview of the police department's use of that particular information.
Would that be resolved if the department received authorization from DMV to release that information for purposes of the tow companies?
I think that that's something that I would be willing to sit with Mr. Camacho and we'd have to enter an MOU with. In the absence of an MOU, I would not have my personnel in the Guam Police Department release that information up front.
All right, and I was just broaching that simply because, I mean, if there's an easier way to get to the information, we need to explore that.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I also want to recognize the presence of Senator Jimmy Espaldon. Thank you, Senator, for joining us. Okay. Anybody? Yes, sir. Go ahead, Liz.
Hi, good morning. My name's Liz Aquilani. I'm from Roadside. I am familiar with the law, and the law was implemented, I think, about last year, November of 2015. And the law covers everything, actually, that everybody's talking about here. Theft, the registration and everything. And I agree with them. We do have a hard time with trying to get information from DMV. That's the only problem, actually, that we're running into. But as far as theft, we are required by law to inventory the car. Sometimes we do get questioned by the owners of the vehicles why we went into the car. And I don't think they realize that by law, we're responsible for everything that goes into the car when it goes into the compound. So, yes, we do. There is a law that's stipulated in on the towing law that we are responsible for inventory when it comes to our lot. I don't know if it specifies just impounds or accidents, but there is a law in place regarding the theft. But I do agree with them regarding trying to get information. We do comply with the law, with notices. I have no problem with that. It's just the time that it takes, to actually notify the banks and the insurance companies. Yes.
So if you're required, and I don't know, I guess we'll have to find that citation as to that you're required to take inventory of the vehicle, then that would require you to get into the vehicle.
Yes.
And so if you towed away that vehicle, let's say from the parking lot out here, which was locked, when you bring it to your storage site, in order for you to do that inventory, you have to get in, which I know towing companies are able to get in, right?
Right.
And so unless the registration is not there, I mean, you don't have to run up to DMV. Am I wrong?
Well, in the past, the law has always specified impound. There's different kinds of vehicles that we bring in. We don't do impounds anymore, The only impound that we have, which is actually unauthorized. That's it.
Yeah.
But we don't do impounds, so that makes it easier for us.
Yeah, but it would seem that what we're talking about is that, I mean, if there's something in the law that prohibits you in certain circumstances not to be able to get into a locked car that was towed away without the owner's knowledge, then we probably need to go in there and. But then another section of the law requires you to take an inventory. Then something's conflicting.
It is, because we're doing that now. We're complying with the law. We're taking photographs, we inventory, and we take responsibility for whatever vehicle comes into our lot. So the law is pretty long, and I don't know, Mr. Mateo, have you read that part?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. It's very. It really covers everything that we're talking about here. So everything is already in place. I believe that it's just the time that we're here for. So I agree with him on the time. We need a little bit more time because of the inability to have common information from revenue and tax. Sometimes they'll give it to you, sometimes they won't. So.
Yeah, I guess it would become problematic if you open the car up and there was no registration document. Then all you have is the VIN number and all that. Then you have to go to revenue tax. But
then you mentioned, trying to find a way to go through the police department, which would be easier.
Yeah,
much easier.
But then they have their own constraints as to the use of that information.
Yes.
Another thing that would make things easier is if we can get a personal contact information like a cell phone, house phone, work phone, so we can kind of touch bases on who these people are and if they're willing to come in and retrieve their vehicle. And if they are, this is the price, and the procedure goes on. DMV doesn't release information like that, like phone numbers. And all we get is mailing addresses. And sometimes the mailing address is in North Carolina or South Carolina. And just for the mail to get there, and the person's here on Guam because they're either in Anderson or Big Navy, then now we're getting lost in translation. Why am I sending a letter to North Carolina, South Carolina, when the gentleman or the madam is here in Anderson or Big Navy? I think it goes back to the consumer always updating information at DMV, because DMV has some outdated information. And just the other day last year I went there to renew my vehicle, and the information they had on it was wrong, which was my fault, right? The number that I put on, I guess, was mistakenly. I guess it was entered wrong, whether it be my fault or DMV's fault. But that just goes to show that the example is DMV's information can be different from what the registered owner's information is. And if we can kind of, I guess, find a system that can actually make things easier for everyone, that would be great.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
It pertains to his earlier testimony about his, I think you said a $9,000 bill. So my question is, when you get into the car and you open the glove compartment and you find the registration, are you looking at the registered owner or are you looking for a lien holder?
I'm looking for the lien holder. I'm looking for the owner of the vehicle.
Okay.
Any information on the registration is critical.
So if I may, how does a storage company wait till it's $9,000 to contact?
No, there's. I believe that's probably before the law was actually implemented.
Okay. So you just started this practice?
Yes, in November of 2015.
Okay.
So, going back to his comment, we do have an incident, where the vehicle has been there for 4 years. We sent numerous notices to the lien holder,
okay,
and the owner. The owner comes back nowhere to be found, and then the lien holder says that, he's still paying for his car, so you can just leave it there for whatever time you want to, and the law needs to implement something where we can actually, in so many months, be able to actually there is a lien on it already, but after we've already identified that we've already notified everybody, it's been 3 years, so they say, maybe you can go to court and have the judge, submit a court order saying that you own the car now. that takes a lot of time also. How do you,
So when you
It's
get,
not
the red flag for the lien holder would be non-payment, of course. Then you would find out where that car is or where the registered
Right.
owner is.
yeah, there are times when the owners will continue to pay the banks.
And so the red flag for the banks would be non-payment.
Yes.
Now,
I actually, if you were to, that must be before the law was implemented.
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
by the way, the invoice was for the 9,000 was after the law was
Yes,
implemented,
yes.
and it was for work done.
Okay.
But in any case, if you informed us that you had that car there, and you're coming up on the $300 limit, whatever it is, even if the car was current, we would go after the owner of the car and say, get your car out of there. And if that person did not do that, then we get the car out of there ourselves, because he or she is not going to continue to keep paying for a car that's in a towing in your lot, because they have no use for it. Of it.
Different banks have different procedures and policies. The bank that I'm talking about, well, the guy paid for it already, so it's up to you what you want to do. But as far as notification, yeah, there's no other, how do you say, there's no other way that we can go to try and make sure that the car, is, what we're going to do with the car. Is it just going to sit there for 5 years? We've notified the banks, even after the law. And so far, we have not received any information as to what are we going to do with the car.
you guys also do work on cars? Because you
Yes, we
said
do.
some of that was... So
No,
you do,
that's a different entity of our company.
But work meaning...
If work is being done to a vehicle, it falls under the mechanic's lien.
Okay.
So it's different from the storage from
And then
a
the
store.
lien holder gets the bill.
Yes, the lien holder is notified that the vehicle's there.
No, but there are sometimes to make the lien holder pay for that work that's been done.
So you won't release the car until that entire bill is paid in
Yes,
full
yes.
by the lien holder or the registered owner.
But I think we're here talking about the towing. He's talking different. It's more or less like for body shops and mechanical shops. Am I correct, sir?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say names, but it's yes, it's the auto body shop, but you're right, it's connected to the towing company.
Right, so
they can
it's-
ask the same owners.
Yeah.
So, your company also owns a body shop?
It's different. We do separate. Yeah.
So you can fix a car without the knowledge of the lien holder or the owner?
No, the owner has to be there. Has to sign for it. You can't fix a
So
vehicle
why would the
without
lien holder
authorization.
get the bill?
The lien holder just to notify them that the vehicle's there, because I guess the owner shows no interest.
No, but then why would a lien holder be responsible for something we did not order or ask or permit to be done?
Well, the notification is just to inform the lien holder that the vehicle's there.
No,
Simply
but
that.
then when the lien holder attempts to go get the car, having been finally notified, the lien holder is told they have to pay the $9,000.
Excuse me.
Yeah, it's,
I think on your situation here, sir, is what happened was probably the vehicle got involved in an accident. The owner was, the registered owner in good faith still pays the bank and all that stuff. Then probably after the car was all repaired, the owner authorized the shop to repair it. Then after maybe so many months, just lost interest in the car and just abandoned it.
Yeah, I can't speak to what might or might not have happened,
Yeah.
but I would, if your car was in an accident, of course you have your towing company, but if your car was in an accident and somebody towed it, rather than saying, okay, go ahead and fix it, first thing I'd do is I'd call my insurance company. I don't know where Tony went. I'd call my insurance company because I have to file a claim, and we all have to have insurance. We do know that some people drive around, their cars aren't registered and their cars aren't insured, but that's the last person I would spend money on if they don't even have a license and they don't even have a registration and they don't even have insurance. But again, if I'm a car owner or a vehicle owner and I'm in an accident, I don't necessarily say, okay, you towed it, yeah, you can fix it for me too. I'm going to go to my insurance company because they're the ones who are going to pay for it.
Well, probably this individual has an insurance and authorized the shop to go ahead and repair it, and all of a sudden, halfway down the line, he just decides to cut all strings.
Okay,
I mean,
I can't
see
cut
it.
my insurance, if I may, I can't cut my insurance retroactively. I either have it at the time of the accident or I don't.
Yeah.
And if I don't have insurance, I'm the last person you want to take the risk on of doing $9,000 worth of work.
Yeah, well, I'm just from my point of view and from experience that I've seen some people have done it. So I think that's the only reason why you got a $9,000 bill, because the owner authorized you to authorize the shop.
That's what I'm trying to
repair it.
figure out is I'm scratching my head on this, is how does the lien holder get a bill that he didn't approve for his car to be fixed? I don't get that. It really doesn't make any sense.
Like I said, it doesn't have to be necessarily the lien holder. It can be the individual that.
So
that
then the
they could
individual
register
should have
to.
got the bill, not the lien holder. The person who approved his or her car to be fixed should get that $9,000 bill, correct?
You know, I think we're going all over the
I know,
place here.
this is a different
But before
entity.
we go further, sir, you have something you want to say? Go ahead and identify yourself.
Jacques Shao, concerned citizen, but also a licensed adjuster. And I just wanted to mention that there's actually several issues that have been brought up here, at least verbally, that aren't actually mentioned in either the original copy of the bill or the amended copy. And I think part of it stems from the fact that there are two different situations that are brought up here in regards to towing. One is, when a vehicle is towed from a private property, either because it was parked in a handicapped spot and GPD noticed it and wanted the vehicle towed, or a security guard or the owner of the property in question says that, hey, this car is parked here illicitly, I need it to be towed away. The second instance is in regards to accidents, and those are the situations that Tony and I encounter most often. And in regards to Tony's idea to select a particular individual either at GPD or at Rev and Tax, which is responsible for DMV, to be the gatekeeper, I think that makes sense. If that person is qualified, certified, trained and educated to do that, great. That would make things a lot more efficient. And they could do it over the phone, actually, which is how credit card companies do it. The towing company, designate one particular person to be that person, whether it be a dispatcher or whoever it is. Call in to DMV or to GPD, identify their name, their date of birth, last four of their social. It's really just that easy. Then that way, if there's proof that information that's released by DMV or Rev and Tax was used improperly, they have a person that they can go to at the towing company who's responsible for that. So to me, that makes sense. It makes everybody happy. I would say still provide the report from the towing company, still provide the inventory, and have that all documented. In regards to the inventory, though, too, is mention was made that they take photos of the vehicle. In my experience, that has not been consistent overall. So I think photos is probably the best way to go. And I say this because you can take photos of the vehicle without accessing the interior of the vehicle. To me, it doesn't make any sense from a consumer standpoint, just as a private consumer, owner of a vehicle, for someone to access my vehicle when there's multiple ways to identify the owner without breaking into the car and possibly causing additional damage. Is you have the VIN number and you have the license plate. In case the owner isn't available. And again, that can be tracked through GPD, DMV, whoever it is. So I don't understand the need to access the interior of the vehicle if you have those two items, readily visible and available. In regards to the storage, I would definitely second the need to limit the storage time, but to give the towing companies enough time to get that information and to contact the owners and or the lien holders and or the insurer via phone and in writing. But whatever is done, that communication needs to be documented in writing. That way, all the parties involved can say definitively that yes, we did everything we could to contact the owner, the lien holder, and or the insurer. Because inevitably, because these three individuals or these three parties all have insurable interest in the property, sooner or later, they're going to be liable for the costs, whatever those costs are. In regards to towing a vehicle from a private property, though, in terms of shouldering the towing cost, if that's a burden, then my suggestion would be to have the property manager calling the towing company to tow the vehicle to shoulder the initial towing cost. I think that's more than fair, since they have to take up space in their lot to store the vehicle. But that's just my suggestion.
Okay.
Romeo Tidosho, Auto Club. Going back to the original line item, number 5.
Yes.
I would actually like to see if you could have an exemption for repossessions of vehicles, because usually the bank are the lien owners that requests for the removal of the vehicle. So it's not necessary for the towing company to notify the registered owner or any other persons.
Oh, in the case of a repossession
Yes.
towing?
Yes.
So all your repos are suggested by the lien holder, correct?
Yes. That's yes.
Also, just one last note. In regards to the towing for accidents, there is a law already that states that no towing should be done of a consumer's vehicle unless that owner calls the towing company. We found time and time again that that's not actually consistently true as well. Is often the towing companies will somehow be very, very aware, right, of an accident, and they'll just come by without actually being called, and they will try to assert themselves and find a way to tow the vehicle, regardless of whether or not the vehicle is actually operable or roadworthy. And so that's something that I think should be addressed here as well, with some sort of monitoring and enforcement. As for what that mechanism is, I don't know, but we, me as a representative of an adjusting company and a private citizen, I would definitely like to see that enumerated and elucidated somewhere in the amended bill.
I have a comment on accident towing. I believe there is a solicitation law that prohibits tow truck operators from approaching the scene of an accident unless called. And I believe that maybe the chief can maybe see if there can be a little bit more enforcement in that area of solicitation. There are insurance companies that do have contracts already with their clients, and that they have priority over the towing for their clients. And sometimes the drivers are soliciting customers that are not contracted to provide their service, which is should actually not be the case. So,
Sir, I will tell you that if it occurs in the presence of a police officer, and I'll put it out to my force that if it occurs in the presence of a police officer, obviously they will take action on that to make sure that that the tow truck operators are not unduly soliciting services. However, I will tell you that it will not be the responsibility of the police officer to stick around to ensure that doesn't happen. Because as you can understand, we are undermanned in the Guam Police Department, and 9 times out of 10, there are calls stacked upon calls, and once we're done with the investigation, we move on to the next call. So once we're done with what we need to do with regards to the accident, we're moving on to the next call. However, if it does occur in the presence of a police officer, we will take action, as with any other crime for that matter. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else?
Senator, if I could, I'd just like to make it known for the record that with regards to the amendment for the bill, the Guam Police Department is taking the stands, in particular to Section 5 regarding the deposit of fines, and that regarding that particular issue, the Guam Police Department has no objections whatsoever, so that should there be any fines in violation, that it does go to the police patrol vehicle and equipment revolving fund, just for the record.
So you're basically in agreement with the amendment on line 13?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. All right. Do the towing operators have, companies have any comments on section 4 regarding penalties? So first of all, it's been suggested that probably the 72 hours probably needs to be extended, maybe a couple more days. So the
Mr.
committee.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
On that subject, from a business viewpoint, if the tow company identifies either a company vehicle because of its markings or a rent-a-car, and they can identify the rent-a-car and can contact them right away, is there an option to waive the 72 hours? And the point is, from our viewpoint, we want that car back to our lot as soon as possible. So if they have 3 days or 4 days to respond, well, they might as well add a storage, right? I mean, why would they notify us? Especially if you deal with a tourist who's driving a rent-a-car and he gets, he parked illegally or whatever, and the car gets towed, and they have 72 hours to notify us in writing. We don't want to pay the storage fees.
Why?
Because if you
Because
see,
we didn't notify
Hold
you?
on,
the point is-
hold on. Let him
the
finish.
point is, if you can notify us right away, we'll go and get that car. I mean, if it's a driver, obviously, oftentimes, and we get tickets from rent-a-cars all the time. We get employees who get ticketed, whatever happens. Those don't happen every day, but it happens. If we get notified, I mean, within working hours, we'll get that car right away out of your lot. We'll bring it back to our property. There's no need to, and we'll pay the fees. I mean, I'm not arguing the fees of towing and whatever. I'm just saying that there's no point of lengthening the process and creating more charges. But the way it is written now, this is the process. And, since they have to comply, and if we agree with the tow truck company that we can take the car out, they still have to comply with the law and do a registered mail, which doesn't make sense. So just for practical purpose.
Okay. All right. Did you have something you wanted to?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Any further comments? Okay. A lot of things were put on the table. Yes, sir. Why don't you step forward and identify yourself? And
Good morning. My name is Ron from Hertz Rent-A-Car. On numerous times, we've had some problem with towing. Like the gentleman over there says, we do business a lot with tourists and so forth, off-island visitors and so forth. And sometimes they do park the car in the wrong place, in the no parking zone, handicap. And the private owners, hotels and so forth, would call the towing company to have the car towed to their own location. Now, the following day, they said, okay, well, where's the car at? I said, well, we don't know. I mean, these people not from Guam, so they would know where. Security people would sometimes say, oh, we don't know who towed it away. So we start looking around. There's numerous towing companies, and so we have to go around each towing companies to find out, do you have this license plate number? Do you have this car in your lot? And so forth. And sometimes it takes us a day or so to locate the cars. Now, if I like to suggest maybe like if DMV would have a certain section person there, and if the towing company would call in and say, okay, I towed a car away from ABC Hotel, to my location, then we can call that person, or that DMV person in charge and say, hey, do you have this car? If you do, where would it be? So we can go to whoever the towing company might be and pull it out. And like the gentleman said, it wouldn't incur the storage fee. We don't mind the towing, fees, but it's the storage fee that sometimes gets us. And so if we can find a certain section within the DMV or maybe at the police station, it'll help us a lot. We do have a few hundred cars in our fleet, so that'll help us a lot, I think. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Romeo?
I just wanted to also just say that there is a law that requires the tollways to be reported to GPD. So whatever area that toll was made from, GPD should be aware of that toll already, that it was towed away. Am I to understand that?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, sir, GPD should be able to assist you on that.
So wait a minute, you're saying the law requires in this case, let's say the private property owner to also report to GPD that he has asked for a certain vehicle to be towed away? In addition to the towing company making the report. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think it's only the towing company.
Right now,
would be required, to report that to GPD. Right. So GPD should have the report where the car is towed and who by.
Right.
Yeah.
But now, so right now, what we're doing with Bill 191 is several things. It doesn't make any changes to the requirement as to what information is to be provided and to who. What it changes is how soon do you need to do it, which is originally was 2 days. It's being proposed to change it to 72 hours. You're suggesting, Mr. Mateo, that you probably need a little bit more time than that. So that change is being made. The other change that's being made is that this reporting requirement be made by the towing company regardless of whether the vehicle owner was standing there and told you to tow the company tow the vehicle to some certain shop. That's on line 5, page 1. That, I think, is a significant change. And so I need your input. If that's no big deal, fine. Then every vehicle that you hook up to, then you're going to need to report it to the police. Or do you make that report only when you hook up to a vehicle and the owner of the vehicle has no knowledge of it?
I believe that the reporting should only be done if the owner of the vehicle is not present. Now, if the owner of the vehicle is there watching it towed, I don't believe that should be any reporting done because the owner is there to acknowledge the tow. So we shouldn't be giving him notice or anybody else notice because he's already there to acknowledge it, whether he likes it or not, whether it's repo, whether it's unauthorized tow. If he steps out after the truck is hooked up for a unauthorized tow, then he either settles it with the driver or it goes directly to the yard. So in this case, he's already known, and he's already known of the company that towed it.
In that situation, does the towing company have something that I would sign when I call your company, I need you to take this vehicle over to that shop to get it repaired. Do I sign something showing that I did authorize you to cover yourself?
For the unauthorized towing, we usually get authorization from the management of the complex or the security guard that called in. So we would get authorization from one of those for unauthorized towing.
So you would have a signature saying,
Yes.
no, but you see,
But
in
for an accident, it's
no, but you see, what I'm saying is, so you go to a hotel, and the hotel security says, look, this car is not supposed to be parked here. I want it towed away. So you hook up, and you tow that car away to your lot. Under that circumstance, the way I read the law is that you are then required to generate this notice requirement and report it to GPD, report it to, I guess, the motor, and there's other requirements.
within 1 hour of the tow, it should be reported to GPD, or when the vehicle arrives at the yard, it should be reported to GPD.
Right, within 1
Yeah.
hour of arriving at the place of storage, contact the law enforcement agency.
Yes.
Okay, so you've got to make that report to GPD.
It's just a simple phone call when we just call whatever precinct. Hey, this is Mike from JR's Towing. We have this vehicle, license plate number this, color this, at our lot. It was towed from here for this reason, authorized by this person. And if the registered owner does call you about this certain vehicle, please let them know that we have it.
Understand. But what I'm saying is, that vehicle that you towed away from that hotel, the owner was nobody knows who the owner is. But does that property owner, does he have to sign something so you can cover yourself that, hey, I was given, authorization to tow it away? Ooh, now I'm starting to.
Yeah, they have to sign.
Yes, there is a
It has to be authorized by the owner or whoever is usually the owner or the manager of the complex, or
So
They have
then
to sign.
that raises the question then of whose responsibility is it to make the notice requirements?
Well, normally we will do it because the law says that we have to inform GPD, and we do.
Okay.
Whatever
All right.
precinct.
Sir, if you want to make a comment, you're gonna have to come to the table. Okay. Go ahead.
The vehicle that is towed away, if it was towed, if the vehicle was in good condition and still drivable, usually the owner would call in and get their vehicle back.
Okay.
If they parked it there because they had mechanical problems and they left it there over 2-3 weeks, then that's the time that we should give notice to the owner.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just in regards to towing from a property versus towing from an accident, there are some similar issues, but there are also some differing issues as well. I mean, in regards to towing from a private property, I think it definitely makes sense to have the security guard or the property manager, whoever it is, who orders the vehicle to tow the vehicle away, to take some responsibility, to print their name, sign, date, provide their ID, whatever it is. But at the same time, and this is where I think the towing from a private property versus towing from an accident, these operations should coincide in the sense that the towing company, right, similar to how rental car agencies do it when you go rent a car, they will ask you to do a walk around. They will ask you to note areas of the vehicle that are damaged, and they'll mark it down on their little 2D diagram on their sheet, and it's carbon copied. At the same time, everybody has a cell phone. Everybody has a digital camera. Those often record both the date and the time when the photos were taken. It takes a few seconds, I think, to take maybe a minimum of 4 photos of all 4 sides of the vehicle prior to towing, and that way, it protects everyone involved, right? It protects the private property owner, it protects the towing company, and it protects the actual owner of the vehicle, because they can then definitively state that, yes, this is the state of my vehicle when it was towed away, right? Which solves the issue of enforcement. If, for example, a vehicle owner complains that, but there are parts removed from my vehicle once it arrived at the towing lot, or something was stolen from my vehicle, whatever it is, right? They can take photos of both the exterior and the interior of the vehicle, however they want to do it to document that.
Okay. All right. I think okay, go ahead.
Just one more thank you, Senator. I have to respectfully disagree with what you said over there. I think the lien holder and the insurance company should be informed whether the owner is aware or not. I'll use the example for Bank Pacific, is that we were told we had to pay well over the $300 maximum for storage fees, and that we should have been informed. And the towing company came back and said, no, we don't have to tell you if the owner of the car knows that we took it, which is why the banks and the insurance companies came back to the legislature to ask that that change be made in the current legislation. It was and also I use what we're talking about for Nissan, or what we're talking about for Hertz, where if I'm the tourist and I get into an accident, and my flight's leaving the next day. So the owner, the driver knows, and he just left, but they don't know. So we would ask that please that amendment stay in the bill, because it's important. Otherwise, we won't know, and the car can stay in there. And it just gets back to your point when you made when I entered the room, is that this allows us to free up open space in your lot. Thank you.
And to add on to what Mr. Flores is saying, one of the things that you also got to remember is, Junior is using your car, and your car is registered to your name. And if Junior gets into an accident, sometimes Junior is too afraid to tell you that he got into an accident. He doesn't tell you. I think that even in an auto accident, I think that the registered owner should be notified, because sometimes Junior ain't going to tell his daddy that he got into an accident. And he's going to kind of hold it until somebody comes up and says, hey, by the way, did you know your car was involved in an accident? I just had one right now recently that I worked on. An accident happened since December 10. And when I contacted my insured, he said, no, my son said that my car was parked and somebody hit it. And then when I brought out the fact that the police report indicates that his son hit a parked car, then everything changed. So if we could, Junior's not going to always tell, mom and dad that he got into an accident. So I would like to request. And then sometimes you'll get it where, Junior is convinced to sign documents to have things done on the car. And Junior's not even on the registration. So why should mom and dad be responsible for something that Junior signed? And sometimes I've seen instances where, Junior's only 17 years old. So where does that put the legal owner? I think whenever something happens, I think it's best that the owner, the registered owner, at least be advised. Because a lot of times the driver isn't the registered owner. And, you get some people that convince them to have things done to the car. And then, like Phil says, why should I be responsible for something that I never even knew about?
Okay. All right.
George Malani from Roadside. Going back to Tony, he says, the parents didn't know the son got into an accident. So what you're just saying, Tony, is the tow companies are supposed to inform the parents, right?
No, the registered owner.
No, it doesn't, it's sorry, irrelevant. We're talking about the, vehicles being towed for abandoned or unauthorized. And then also, as far as the bank is concerned, you're the lien holder, true. But we never, Tony, you know this, we never, registered owners always have to sign authorization to do a repair in a car. And then the bank comes and says, I didn't authorize them. Sure, true, Mr. Flores, you didn't authorize us. The registered owner did authorize us. But maybe because his car got into an accident, it says, hell, I'm giving up this car. It doesn't tell you guys. The repo guys are very aggressive. They're out there in a minute that you didn't pay the loan for this month. They're there to repossess the car. So, us not notifying you, we try. Okay, we send the memos out or letters out. Like I said, how much? $62 to send out the. Yes, we do send it out. But, I know you go on your car. You don't want to pay the repair, but that was authorized by the bank. By the insurance company. It was authorized by the insurance company. No work is ever done without the insurance company's authorization.
Well,
Is that true, Mr. Tony Kirkwa?
Yeah.
It's true, right?
Yeah.
Actually, it's
We won't let that 17-year-old boy sign the paper because he was driving the car. We have to wait for the registered owner.
Actually, it's not always accurate to be that way. And if the insurance companies agree to it, then the insurance company is going to pay for it,
Yeah.
and the bill won't be coming to us. But also, that there's, from what I understood earlier, you have a towing company and you have an auto shop company. And what is owed the towing company is what we're talking about. What's owed the auto shop has nothing to do with this issue here. That's that's something completely different. That's not the towing. But yeah, we would like very much, because once again, we went to get a car when we found out it was in somebody's lot, and we said, no, there's a limit, and said, nope, we don't have to tell you. So, but they knew sooner or later we were going to find out, and we were going to come in and have to redeem it, and just trying to get as much money out of us, because once again, that's why they rob the banks. And it's not every company, I will say that. It's not every company, but there are representatives of that company sitting here at this table.
All right. I think we've taken this bill and the roundtable discussion to the point where we can go ahead and adjourn, and the sponsor of the bill is going to take all this good information and synchronize it so that we come up with a bill that is mutually acceptable to everyone. Senator, did you have anything you wanted to add? No. Okay. All right. So with that, then, this roundtable discussion is adjourned. Thank you.